This log, I am starting with a prayer in my heart that it reaches those who need to hear it at the right time. Not because I have something perfect to say, but because I believe everybody has a right to know this. And if you are listening to this from a place where you feel like you cannot face the world, if you're carrying something that makes you want to hide or run away, or if you believe everybody knows, everybody is judging, and there is no way back from this, please stay with me for a few more minutes. Because whatever shame is telling you right now, it may not be telling you the truth. Shame is one of the hardest emotions we carry. Because on the other side, while guilt says I did something wrong, shame says I am wrong. And those are not the same things at all. One is about what happened, and the other becomes a story about who we are. My earliest memory of shame was around the age of 12, 13, when my body was changing. Nobody had explained what I should expect. And instead of seeing those changes as normal, I felt embarrassed by them. I tried to hide them, not because there was anything wrong with me, but because I believed there was. Years later, shame still finds new disguises. Recently, after a long journey from Switzerland, exhausted and sleep deprived, I stood in the wrong queue at an immigration counter. A simple mistake, right? And the immigration officer was so kind and he directed me to the right counter, and there was hardly anybody that afternoon. Nothing bad had happened either. But inside me, something collapsed for a moment. I heard myself thinking, how could I do something so silly? What must they think? I'm so stupid. I make my country look bad. And just like that, I shrank. I stood at the next counter with my head down, ashamed. Not because of what had happened, but because what I believed it meant about me. And that is what shame does. It turns an event into an identity. And I see this happen all the time with young people. When a friendship falls apart, a rumor spreads, an exam goes badly, or a mistake becomes public. And suddenly it isn't this happened. It becomes this is who I am. Because shame doesn't take away confidence. It takes away hope. It convinces people that nothing can change and that this moment is permanent, that the story is over and this is who they are forever. But trust me, it isn't. One thing I often tell young people is this: people will move on to the next story faster than you think. A gossip will change, the attention will shift, the rumors will fade, and what will remain is the story you tell yourself. So please be careful with that story, because yours is the only truth you will believe. And there is almost nothing in human life that cannot change. Not your circumstances, not your confidence, not your friendships, not your reputation, not your future, nothing. All of this can change. And as long as you are here, the story is still moving. When shame shows up for me, I have learned not to trust my own voice completely, because in that moment, the voice in my head sounds so convincing, but it isn't necessarily truthful. What helps me most is talking to someone I trust. Someone who can see my worth when I cannot. Someone whose belief I can borrow until I find my own again. And there is nothing weak about that. Sometimes strength looks exactly like reaching out. So if shame has been sitting beside you lately, please do one small thing. Just tell someone, send a message, make a call, say, I'm not okay right now. Because you do not have to carry it alone. Trust me, you do not have to carry it alone. And if the feeling is so heavy that you feel unsafe with yourself, reach out immediately to someone you trust or seek professional support. Let another human being help carry the weight when you cannot, because nothing you are ashamed of is worth your end. Nothing. Not a mistake, not a rejection, not a rumor, not a bad result, not a preference that you have made about your life, not one painful chapter of your life. You are bigger than the moment that made you want to disappear. I'll repeat that for you. You are bigger than the moment that made you want to disappear. And maybe the thing you believe is the end is simply the place where your next chapter begins. So perhaps this is the question I want to leave you with today. If shame is telling you this is who I am, can you please pause for a moment and ask yourself, or is this simply something I'm going through? Then take one small step. Just open your door, drink some water, breathe some fresh air, and call someone. Let yourself be seen, because you're not your worst moment. And as long as you are still here, the story is not over.